The month of November to focus on heightening awareness of online threats against citizens. We'll have details to this story and more in the National Report. Details to the news for Monday, November 7th. I am Rikisha St. Louis. Minister for Information Communication Technology, Honorable Lennox Andrews, says every Grenadian has a part to play in their cybersecurity. He said the month of November will focus on heightening awareness of the online threats attempting to attack, break, steal information, and highlight measures that can apply to guarantee protection on the Internet. Cyber Awareness Month will be celebrated under the theme, See Yourself in Cyber. During his address to officially commemorate the month of activities, Minister Andrews said the onus is on every citizen to take responsibility for their actions online.
During the month, we will focus on 4 main areas. These are using strong passwords, enabling multi-factor authentication, updating software, and recognizing and reporting phishing. Strong passwords are like strong locks. Multi-factor authentication is like double locks and deadbolts. Updating software is similar to putting on some additional safety features like alarm systems or burglar bars. And recognizing and reporting phishing is the same as ensuring that the only people or things who enter your safe home are those who you trust to bring into the sanctity of that space. Basic knowledge and understanding of these 4 areas will ensure that every citizen, from the youngest user to the eldest among us, is able to engage in cyberspace with some level of confidence and diligently take responsibility for their actions online.
Activities for the month include panel discussions, quizzes, and other educational programs targeting parents and students of primary and secondary schools. He said we are safe in cyber only if we make the right choices.
Throughout the month, my ministry will undertake several activities across the country as we engage stakeholders to raise the bar of awareness and engender a response among Grenadians. Among the activities organized will be cyber awareness radio quizzes, a panel discussion which will be held in conjunction with the FIU and the Cyber Forensic Unit of the RGPF, a Beyond the Headlines television program, and a series of primary and secondary schools cyber security outreach programs.
The Grenada Cybersecurity Incidents Response Team was launched in May 2022 to detect, contain, and respond to cyber incidents. The unit can be contacted at 423-2478 or emailed on csirtgnd@gov.gd for more information. Government has appointed the country's first female Labour Commissioner following the retirement of Acting Commissioner Reginald Lord last week. The Ministry of Legal Affairs, Labour and Consumer Affairs welcomed Mrs. Valerie Thomas, who brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the position, having worked extensively in the field of labour relations. A graduate of the Cipriani College of Labour and Cooperative Studies, Mrs. Thomas specialized in labour studies with an emphasis in negotiations, labour administration, and labour dispute management, among others. She also has experience in the Grenada Public Service, having worked for over 17 years in the fields of general administration and human resource development. In her capacity as Labour Commissioner, Mrs. Thomas will drive the ministry's transformative labour agenda and give dedicated focus to finalizing the review of the Labour Code, strengthening case management, advancing the occupational safety and health agenda, building the decent work and disability in the workplace regulatory regime, strengthening dispute resolution to ensure justice and improve compliance, and enhancing workplace productivity. Minister for Labour Senator the Honourable Claudette Joseph welcomed Mrs. Thomas to the ministry and presented her with the mandate to address outstanding labour dispute matters, engage key labour partners, and advance the priorities of the labour sector. Continuing the news, Acting Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sean Charles says the time has come for a paradigm shift to improve the country's immunization rates. He was addressing participants of the Pan American Health Organization's one-week workshop on immunization on Monday. The engagement is geared towards strengthening the country's immunization system and increasing acceptance and confidence in vaccines. Dr. Charles explained that immunization is one of the most important public health interventions that led to the control of many non-communicable diseases. However, many has lost confidence in the process. Therefore, more must be done to regain the trust of the populace in immunization.
Safe injection practices, quality vaccines, and the monitoring of ESAVI. And this is the reason why this event is very important. I hope that you will find this workshop very useful as we aim to continue to build capacity to effectively monitor events that are associated with vaccines or that are supposedly attributable to vaccines. And the goal is so that we continue to ensure that our public is confident that we are providing a safe and effective, proven intervention that controls diseases.
Chief Nursing Officer Nestor Edwards is optimistic that the training will strengthen the country's ability to respond effectively to diseases and outbreaks.
Building capacity in areas such as this would only strengthen our ability as a healthcare system to respond, in an appropriate manner to events of public health conditions. We've had many of them within the recent years, such as Ebola. We've just coming out of the COVID pandemic. And so our ability as a healthcare system to respond to those conditions are very, very important.
The 5-day workshop will focus on strengthening Grenada's surveillance capacities in events that supposedly attribute to vaccination or immunization. Facilitator Kern Rock encouraged the participants to take the opportunity to improve their health system seriously.
This workshop is part of a series of ESAVI trainings that we've been conducting throughout the Caribbean and the Americas. And we have been doing that over the last 6 months. So I want you to take advantage of our presence of myself, my other colleague here, Victor Osorio, and our other colleagues who are from headquarters who will be joining us virtually. Ask as many questions as you need to ask, get all your concerns addressed, and make the most of this opportunity.
The workshop will be held from Monday, November 7th to Friday, November 11th at the Radisson Beach Resort. This is the National Report. The news will continue after the break.
The Grenadian General Insurance Half Marathon and 10K Road Race is on Sunday, November 13th. This race starts at 2 p.m., beginning at Current Junction, St. David, and going to the Karani James Athletic Stadium. There are prizes for the top 10 male and female finishers in the half marathon, top 5 finishers in the 10K, prizes for the oldest finisher, youngest finisher, and the school, club, or organization with the most finishers. Transportation will be provided. Register at GrenadaAccess.com. Registration closes Saturday, 12th November. The Grenadian General Insurance Half Marathon and 10K Road Race is on.
Welcome back. A representative of Macmillan Education Caribbean is visiting Grenada to conduct focus groups with educators to increase the relevance of their texts in the Caribbean. Christian Ashton, development editor of Caribbean Publishing, further explained the objective and activities conducted during the visit.
I'm here to talk to ministry officials and teachers with regards to what they need, what they would like us to improve upon in our future and current titles. had a fantastic time. We had some really substantive, very fruitful discussions for computer science, for HFLE, for agricultural science, and in general TVET subjects. Some fascinating information which I wasn't aware of before, which all very useful. Some things for me to go away and to discuss with our team about how we can better improve on our offerings for Grenada and the wider Caribbean, especially obviously the OECS states. So yeah, fantastic trip so far. We are already in the process of writing, and we will soon hopefully be editing a computer science course which will be for primary and lower secondary. So the discussions with some of the computer science teachers yesterday came up with suggestions for what kind of features they might find useful for activities and how best to go about implementing them, for example using smartphones rather than just computers or tablets. Obviously trying to do things offline as well where internet or technological issues may rise. Earlier today with agricultural science there was a lot of discussion about trying to make sure that students and teachers are seeing agricultural science not just from the framework of farming and obviously the hard work and long hours aspect, but also more from a business and an economic standpoint and how it can be a very viable career.
Dr. Cheryl Barnaby, Grenada's agent and consultant for Macmillan Education Caribbean, was a part of this process.
We're looking at enhancing the product that we offer to the kids of the Caribbean in terms of educational materials, and so because Macmillan want to ensure that we satisfy our customers, we thought it was best to visit a couple of the islands, including Grenada certainly, and to meet with focus groups, small groups of teachers in various subject areas to find out, that's how are our texts so far in terms of usage? Are we meeting their needs? Are we relevant enough? Are we current enough? And is there any way we can enhance those books so as to get better learning outcomes?
Finally in the news, as part of a community sensitization campaign on special needs being undertaken by the Organization of the Eastern Caribbean States Program for Educational Advancement and Relevant Learning, OECS PEARL, the Ministry of Education is placing the spotlight on Grenadians living full lives despite their disability. Sarana Mitchell reports on Jamal Phillip, who is a blind itinerant teacher attached to the Resource Center for the Blind.
Meet 36-year-old Jamal Phillip, who lives in the Lakalum housing scheme with his wife and son.
We met on Facebook. I sent him the friend request and then he accepted, and then we start talking and one thing led to the next.
What about him did you like?
Everything.
That's Yolanda Phillip, Jamal's wife. We caught up with Jamal at the St. George's Methodist School, where he teaches a student with visual impairment how to use the computer.
The way I perceive life to be, I just, the type of person that think once you're alive, you can be who or whatever you want to be. And nothing should stop you from doing that. Because I know I would meet up other blind persons, and trust me, I'm not making comparison, but I could really see them in a different light, because they would be like, oh, I can't do this and I can't do that.
His former primary and secondary school teacher, Imogen Howard, describes him as determined and hardworking.
Jamal was a force to reckon with. Despite he was blind, he was top of the class. And you'd find many times teachers would come and say, look, Jamal is blind and he's performing well, his average is this and he's coming in the first two. And you are there and you have your sight and you're playing the fool. Sometimes you'd find we'd have to say that because he performed in the first two from Form 1 to Form 5. He was giving the children a competition.
Ellis Ogilvie, who is the acting principal at the Resource Center for the Blind, makes the case for including students with special needs in the regular school system. He says teachers need to be educated and be more welcoming.
I think inclusion is necessary. It is important. The persons who are included need the exposure. They need to be with the sighted peers. They need to be with the quote-unquote normal peers. However, I think part of the challenge for us with inclusion has to do with the attitudes of some of the teachers in the mainstream schools. And you'll find that most of the times parents get what I would refer to as a pushback, rather than the welcoming open arms. And that to me sometimes could be a problem. But I believe as long as we can do the necessary education of the teachers and so on, you'll find that once the attitude changes, I think it's going to make a big difference in the way we see inclusion for persons who have special needs, not just blind and visually impaired.
Special education needs is one of the projects being undertaken by the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States Program for Educational Advancement and Relevant Learning, OECS Pearl. A special education needs survey, which began in September, is aimed at ensuring that all children with special needs are counted and are given an opportunity to learn. For the National Report, I am Sarana Mitchell.
Thank you, Sarana. That story just ended the National Report for Monday, November 7th, recapping the top story. The month of November to focus on heightening awareness of online threats against citizens. On behalf of the entire news and production team, I am Rakisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us.